And we're back. Little coffee in the throat. And we're back, I think this time for the last time for sure. Last time after making the ascent, teaming up with Solitz, getting Balara back, now final push to get to elgar'nan, and then figuring out how do we stop the veil from collapsing when we get there.
Any last advice from Mythal?
'Tis a difficult battle you face, but you are among more allies than you know. You have purified the crossroads, uncovered ancient truths lost for ages, and earned the essence of Mythal. You are truly the champion of the Fade. Take this. Should your fight against elgar'nan grow desperate, invoke the memories of the Dreadwolf's rebels.
Ooh.
For you, they will stand against tyranny one last time.
Ultimate legendary rune. Felisan's rune. The power of Felisan's rune is based on how much of the god's influence you drove back into the crossroads. Equip Felisan's. The fight only can be used against elgar'nan. Okay, interesting. Interesting. Now let's keep Defy. Ultimate Salvation of Felisan. Just see. Whoops. Quicken enhanced damage resistant to flex famine and invulnerability. Okay. Interesting. Neat. And I wonder if we get different tiers of that depending on the things we do. The Dreadwolf rises. The team faces elgar'nan in the final battle, but the Dreadwolf has his own plan in mind. Let's go.
Bad news, everyone. Elgar'nan's forces are gathering outside.
They mean to prevent.
I was gonna say, I see the sweat or raindrops on your abs.
We'll hold the enemy as long as we can.
Or your
You need to start climbing. One of us should help.
I'm going up there. I owe elgar'nan for what he did.
You go to face a guard, Rook, but any aid you might spare would be welcomed.
The forces defending Divine Manor are in excellent shape and will be fighting hard. Canadians have experience fighting in frontline combat or siege, have better chance of succeeding, especially if they are here of the Veilguard. Frontline or sieges? I guess probably Tosh. Makes sense to me, up in... Yeah.
Tosh, you up for it?
Yep.
I suppose we're willing...
Cheering for you, Rook. All my best.
Feel bad we never select Emmerich for a thing, but... Balara remains affected by the Blight and will fight separately. Okay, interesting. Actually kind of worried about that. You know what? Doing this who we began with, Harding and Nev. I want to bring Lucanus, because he's my boy, or Emmerich for his healing, but yeah, we started this adventure with Harding and Nev, we'll end it. Is there a hole in Nev's chest? You can see right through it, I think, to their ponytail. Lucanus, can't you fly us up? No. No. What? No. Maybe I should have made a save just in case, but we're fine. Otherwise, you know who would have been great for that? Davrin. Sorry, Jesus. I think Tosh got him, Morgan. I wonder if you just put any Veilguard hero there. Part 13, The Last Gambit. Only one thing left to lose? The only thing left to lose is everything. Oh, Jesus.
It's okay. There's gotta be another way up.
Take care of it, Solus. Come on, guys, get it sorted. Whoops, didn't mean to do that, but that's fine. There we go. Oop. There he goes.
How do you think the others are doing? And everyone back down below.
They've got their job, we've got ours. We need to focus on the throne room.
Ooh, that's cool. Don't know if that was intentional or that was a glitch, but it's like, that looked neat. Okay, I had it. do 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 do. Solus, if the wolf form isn't working, maybe try a different tactic.
Fight with the archer.
And until Solus kills it, elgar'nan can't be killed.
Solus knows that as well as we do. He might betray us after, but he'll do whatever it takes to stop elgar'nan.
There we go. Oop. Sorry, I was trying to look. It's like, are they fighting above us, or... There we go. Oh, didn't take him out. Oh, I did the wrong move. Ah, doesn't matter, we got him.
Now it's your turn.
Alright.
Signed up for quite the job, didn't we?
I'm glad you were there. That you're still here.
Back at you, Lace.
Now we finish this. For Varric.
For Varric.
Oop. Oop, I saw... Sorry. I'm getting there. Now Solus will do his part of the job.
The throne room. Knowing elgar'nan, we'll find him there.
I was gonna say, not the giant heart in the middle of the city.
Rook,
You made it.
Sorry, I was trying to see who was
Elgar'nan's
wrapped up
using
there.
the Magisters to control the Blight, just like he used me. They're directing all of it at Solus. He won't make it without our help.
How do you know?
I can still feel it. Hear it.
The Blight?
I was gonna say, she's kind of acting like Anne. Or... Jesus, sorry.
I'll help Solus. Just get to the throne room.
Jesus, sorry. All right. I mean, Balar is acting weird, and I don't know if it's just the Blight or if it's... they're just framing her weird. Oh, I was like, Balara? No. Oh. I'm sure he's fine.
We've got it over.
Ooh, 2 ogres. Shoot. God damn it. Ugh, well, okay. That last ogre just went down, but give me a revive.
Throne room's just ahead. Everybody ready?
Whenever you are.
You got us here, love. We're with you to the end.
What way? This way. Alright, here we go. Valara, whatever your plan was. I was gonna say, whatever connection to the Blight she has.
I've got this. Go.
She's getting scary. I'll kill Solus. No, Valara, hold on. Sitting up like they're like Kratos and the God of War.
Creator. And I am this world's creator.
I see you skulking. Jesus, sorry. Aw.
Every pointed spire and warding enchantment in this city is a child's unwitting imitation of the empire I built. I would have restored the glory. Your lives are too brief to remember.
I saw the Menace Crossing and Weishaupt, and everywhere else you've left your mark. I didn't see any glory. All I saw was a tyrant destroying everything he touches.
You mistake discipline for cruelty, a failing among those who lack a master's gentle guidance. We only destroyed because you resisted. In the new empire, every child would have blossomed under my protection. And Gillenane, my brilliant sister, would have forged the Blight into a tool of beauty. But she is dead. And all we have is this. Because of you.
Bring it. Now, if Solus could frickin' kill that archdemon. Elgar'nan.
This entire world is my domain. Nothing you do matters.
Jesus Christ. We're doing a lot of damage. I'm just waiting for... Oh my god! So much rage!
While my dragon thrall lives, I have vulnerable, yet still you fight. Pathetic.
I was gonna say, now the damage is probably even higher. Jesus Christ! That's just my basic attacks. Okay, there's gotta be another phase to this, right? But Jesus. Ah, damn. That would have been a killer hit. Oh. I guess something got him. Or maybe we hit a threshold.
The dread wolf cannot save you. He cannot even save himself. Now you understand that none may stand against me. Those who try stand alone.
Alright.
I am the Lord of the day and the night. Yield to me and I will show you mercy. Look at you. Your failures. You failed to save the wardens at Weishaupt. You fled in terror at Arlothan.
And then we killed Gillenade.
You have nothing. No army, no dragon, no thralls.
I've got a team, and that's all I need.
I have bound the souls of dragons. I have slain titans and broken the will of gods.
You haven't broken me.
Oop.
You will kneel.
No. No, no, no.
Oh, come now. You did as well as anyone could have, but you cannot deny the truth.
I can do this. I have to.
I was gonna say, I feel like this is gonna be a sacrifice moment for Valara too. Being somehow in tune with the blight.
Release them.
I gave you this power, child.
You are not my god.
Oh dearie me. Oh, Valara.
Impossible! No! You will not!
About time, man. Jesus.
Oh, mortal Elgar'nan. Enjoy it while it lasts.
If you will not bow, you will burn.
Fire off Felisan's thing right away.
Your recalcitrance has doomed every pathetic creature in
Ah.
existence. I will see the last glimmer of defiance from this wretched world. And from the ashes shall rise a blighted empire bound to me alone.
Nope, there we go. Oop. We need... And I am thoroughly still unimpressed. Oh, right. Ah, damn it. Okay, there we go, there we go. Where'd he go? Oh, finisher. Hell yeah. I was thinking of a Spaceballs joke. It's like, your Schwartz is as big as mine, but mine's better.
It is done. The world owes you a debt, both for defeating Elgar'nan and for bringing down the Veil.
Yeah, you knew.
I am sorry for this final betrayal, but I will do what I can to minimize the damage. When you see the old world restored, please, Rook. I do not wish to fight against you.
Let's try it your way. Trick Solus with a fake dagger, but I want to fight you. Fight Solus and bind him to the Veil. You don't have to do this. Use Mythal's essence and convince Solus to stop. Maybe there's a way. I'm so curious how this actually works out.
I don't want to fight you either.
The third option. The synthesize ending.
But I don't want to see the world go through even more pain on top of what elgar'nan has done. Do you?
This world is broken, Rook, because of my mistakes.
And this won't fix it. Then do this the right way. This won't help anyone. You're trapped in regret.
This is why you had to use me to escape the prison. It's made from regrets, and you're trapped in yours.
You could never get over your own self-loathing.
Destroying everything won't erase your mistakes. You have a chance right now to save the world. Bind yourself to the Veil and stop it from falling.
At least we gave him the choice. And I'm very curious, will the Inquisitor actually join him? We kind of nudged her in that direction. We're not forcing it on him, we're giving him the option. Now it's his turn to make the choice.
To stop now would dishonor those I have wronged to come this far.
Even if those you wronged asked you to stop?
I'd be so curious how this actually would work out if you had your Inquisitor carry over.
You think you've gone too far to come back? But you're wrong.
But you didn't romance him in Inquisition? I don't know.
Walking the Denancheral with you.
I lied. I betrayed you.
I forgive you. All you have to do is stop.
Irabolas, Venan. But I cannot. Long before we met, I failed my oldest friend. She died for that failure. If I leave the Veil in place, I am destroying the world she wanted. And I will have... She will have died for nothing.
And whose fault is that, Dreadwolf?
Morrigan.
One appellation among many, I wear. I have been advisor to Orlais, Witch of the Wilds, daughter of Flemeth, and once, long ago, an old friend.
He just like doesn't get it. What?
Mythal lives on in her, and in this.
What does that old friend of yours have to say about all this?
Mythal.
I pulled you from the Fade you loved and sent you into war. I used your wisdom as a weapon. And it broke you.
The things that I have done
are not for you alone to bear, my friend. The many wrongs we did together.
At least young Mythal has the self-awareness.
I release you from my service.
I don't think that makes him feel better.
Banal nadas, arlasma, venan.
Again, it's your choice now.
My life force now sustains the Veil. With every breath I take, I will protect the innocent from my past failures. The Titan's dreams are mad from their imprisonment. I cannot kill the Blight, but I can help to soothe its anger. I will go and seek atonement.
Inquisitor, can you go with him and keep him company?
Do not have to go alone. Tel banal arama, vir shiral malasa, belanaris.
Oh. That's probably very gross because of all the blood on his face.
Thank you, Rook.
Sorry, so much there. Okay. Again, this really does kind of feel like the synthesized ending of Mass Effect 3. Belara? You okay? Yes! Okay, she just has no eyes now. Oh god. You need a nap, Belara. Let's get you into bed. We'll read you a bedtime story. Picking up the pieces. Good thing this thing didn't crumble. Sorry, a lot going on. I'm trying to think of the best way to... I feel like this went pretty good. I have a feeling, you know, we were going to lose somebody in the end. I don't know if there's any saving Davrin. The Dreadwolf rises. Face down demons, dragons, darkspawn, and even the Dreadwolf.
And the Inquisitor finally reunited with her true love. It looked like
The ones that last.
this world had ever seen.
Beat the odds and walked into the sunset.
Drawing to a close.
Sorry.
The story of the Veilguard, a team of heroes who stood strong against evil, no matter the cost.
Whatever it took.
Whatever it takes.
But whenever one story ends, another begins.
I wonder, there's probably...
Like the story of the Grey Wardens, clearing the remains of the Blight so that the flowers can grow again.
Or the story of Arkandorian Parvus, fighting to bring Minrathous out from under Venatori rule.
Or the story of a caretaker, standing watch for new heroes.
For the Antivan Crows, it would be a story of liberation from invaders and usurpers alike, as Treviso threw off its shackles.
Among the Veil Jumpers, the fall of the last elven gods meant Arlathan was reborn.
At their heart, stories are about change.
A man seeing his ward become more than he could ever have imagined.
A woman protecting Docktown at all costs against an unknown future.
An assassin and a demon setting aside the past for the sake of family.
A student of history, helping the elves regain what they lost.
A dragon hunter forging a new life for themselves.
Or the Griffins, finding a new home in Arlathan, protecting a world that once thought them lost for good.
Or the Dwarven people, rediscovering their lost magic and their connection to the stone.
Sorry.
There are stories of love.
But those stories aren't over. And we will always be grateful to those whose stories brought us where we are today. And those whose stories will live on with us forever.
I was going to say, Varric in the clouds. In remembrance of those we lost along the way, Bruno Hain, Oliver Marina, Peter Renaday, and I lost the last one, I'm sorry. There we go. And there we have it. Dragon Age, the Veilguard. Hold on. Not to skip over the credits, but I'm curious if there's a... Oh. Okay.
The storm quelled. The sun dimmed. The wolf defanged. At last, we have balanced.
That sounds like Matt Mercer. I might be wrong, but I just get that impression.
Whispered. And soon, the poisoned fruit ripens. We come.
Okay, so setting up something bigger that's been... The Veilguard remains vigilant. The storm quelled. The poisoned fruit ripens. The Veilguard remains vigilant. Okay, so building up the next threat for whatever comes in the future. I'm just waiting to see if there's anything else. Jesus, sorry. No, that's it? Okay. Okay, so this jumped us back all the way before the final stretch. I'm just looking. Okay, I guess we jumped all the way back. I don't know if that's just from our carry point, or if they found the save point before that happened, or that's just like the continuation. But there we go. Dragon Age the Veilguard. Hold on. Yeah, I kind of like jumped back all the way. Wait, what was that? Switch character? Oh, okay. Last time saved. What? Oh. Okay. New save. I made an extra save just in case. Okay. But there we have it. That was Dragon Age the Veilguard. And they're setting up the sequel for like the next thing. I have seen like a post going around online where it's like kind of like a conspiracy board, but people are talking like maybe this is alluding to the next protagonist for the Dragon Age 5. All right. So, interesting. So it all came together, saving the world, giving the Dreadwolf some peace, not leaving him alone, and we gave Solas the choice of how he wanted to repent for his sins. We didn't force anything onto him, we didn't go with his plans, we gave him the option, and the people that cared about him and he cared about came around to talk him down like he suspected could happen if he let them into these decisions. And again, I don't know how much your Inquisitor, if you did or did not romance Solas, or what could have changed that, or the millions of other factors that could have probably changed things, even if only slightly, for coming into this on a fresh, profile. This was very cool. Dragon Age the Veilguard, I am kind of pleasantly surprised with how this ended up turning out. Okay, I feel bad for kind of neglecting Dragon Age as a franchise. I meant to follow it. Sorry, my cat one of my cats sneezing in the other rooms. I meant to follow it closely after I played Origins when I was younger, but I never got around to it. I never replayed Origins. That's on my docket. I got a lot of other shit to do this year before it wraps up. But coming into it, it's I didn't know really what to expect. Just a lot of people whining about it, and it's just sort of okay, there can be some criticisms for the tone and some of the things it does, but overall, I really liked with what it did. Now, again, I'm not a lore connoisseur. I don't know if there's retcons or weird things or, stuff that wasn't touched upon that people were really hoping would be. I don't know on that front. But as far as I'm concerned, what I was presented with as a, as a player, effectively a new player to Dragon Age in a sense, with very little knowledge, but effectively as a new player in this world, what they got was so interesting. I really like the characters. I really Davrin might be my favorite of the group, just this stoic guy who kind of learns to soften up and be a parent to his little feathery bud, and learning how to, trying to in a way make up for the mistakes of the Warden's past, and happening to pick a Warden like him, because that's the only faction I knew about. There was a cool, chemistry you could have with him. And so we just kind of, clicked, and we kind of had, this code that we both followed, and it was really interesting to see how that developed between us. Sorry. So, Davrin might be my favorite NPC of this batch. And even though I say that having romanced Harding, and I liked Harding, just this little personal connection with her, building her up, taking interest in what she's doing, and learning about how her world has been quite literally rocked with how learning about the truth of the Titans, the Dwarven people, and what made this come about, but bringing her in to use that Titan's rage and trying to channel it into something that could be more positive for a better future for the Dwarven people and for a better remembrance of the Titans. sorry, going through the line. Balara, kind of like the quirky, adorkable, archetype, wasn't too into that, but at first, but the more you get to know her, it's like, you know what, you're sweet, you're kind, you're inquisitive, you just like have so many interesting like thoughts and angles and how you approach things, and you carry so much like guilt over the things you couldn't fix or can't fix or didn't know that needs fixing, and you just need that nudge to go, it's like, no, you are enough for what you're doing. You got Emmerich, who's like a very fun twist on like the necromancer character archetype. Like I said, kind of like very Doctor Strangey, but it's just sort of like, it's just like not really looking at the undeath as pleasant, but more of just, the dead as pleasant, but it's just like, no, this is how it goes in the end, and the proper like protocol and care and, the proper protocol, care, and like the ceremony that comes with death and treating death respectfully. And, even his like, even the branch of undeath where it's just like, there are rules to undeath. Sorry, I just saw a story notification on Ground News. Oh boy. Okay, anyways, that's unrelated. But, it's just sort of like Emmerich, like having a fear of death, but it's like more than just like the normal mortal fear of death. It's because he is so in tune with death that it is even more scary than it would normally be. But him finding a way to take that fear, but then changing his tune and seeing like the benefit of, teaching, when he passes, what he's going to leave behind for those who will succeed him. Sorry, I'm still going. Lucanus might be a close second because he's just cool. Like I said, like you get very Puss in Boots, Antonio Banderas mixed with Vaxildan from what is that? Oh, cool. Sorry, I just noticed these down here. Where is expert? Oh, these are the abilities. Sorry, I just noticed them, and it's just sort of like, just the way they wrote Spite, it was just sort of like, oh yeah, cool, they're working together. That must be from our actions. No, like Antonio Banderas mixed, or like Zorro mixed with, Vaxildan from Critical Role. Just like this flamboyant, kind of like, very just like charming, assassin, but he's got like, literalizing his, inner demons and his internal conflict with a, spiteful inner self, and demon that is trying to like bring him down, making him think just sort of like, no, everything is, if I do something wrong, I lose everything. I never deserved to have anything, and he's got to figure out how to parse that out while having, confidence that just like he deserves his position, like almost imposter syndrome maybe, where it's just sort of like, maybe if I stayed in prison, none of this would have happened, but, getting past that self-doubt to make his family stronger. You got Nev, and I feel real bad because I feel like Nev got the short end of the stick in my playthrough, because her, my development with her character got stunted pretty early on, after the, after Minrathous got, struck, and Minrathous took a beating this turn, and it really hardened Nev to the point where, kind of her character kind of got like pushed to the side in favor of being just like a protector of Minrathous and her home, where she kind of like didn't have anything else she had nothing left to lose. Well, no, not really. She had lost so much that, if she lost anything else, it probably would have been the end of her. So what she has left, she's got to protect, and she will sacrifice everything, even herself, to do it. And, it kind of like left Nev with not much left because she had nothing left in her personal life, in a sense. So I feel bad is that the only side quest I missed in the entire game, actually, was, because I didn't lose any other side quests. So it was like the only side quest in the game I lost was whatever happened in Minrathous before the attack. And, you know, if I had done that, could it have changed something? Or could I have learned some things? Maybe the threads would have been pushed to the side. I don't know. But yeah, Nev lost a lot, so her focus was very, like, singular. And, you know, it kind of turned like this kind of like really cool, like a detective into just sort of like this hardened kind of like Batman-esque character. That's kind of what she became, yeah. And again, maybe if things had gone differently, maybe I actually would have gone towards romancing Nev instead. That was kind of my other lean. Like, Harding and Nev, just because you met them first, they had, like, the most to work with and you had the best attachment, so you could start, like, building that romance up sooner. And Nev was kind of cool. Just like, I like Harding. It's just like, I bounce between the two. And, you know, maybe with that softer edge, maybe we could have kept her from, yeah, becoming Minrath's Batman. Okay, hold on. I've still got more to say, but Dog wants to go out. I'm going to put a quick pause in, so back in a moment. Okay, back. Sorry. Dog went out, got some treats, did some stuff. All right, so continuing on to wrap this up, because I had more to say, because I got a bunch of rambling to do. But then we got Tosh, and Tosh is very interesting because of how they develop their identity as you are going through. Now, games have had characters that are like non-binary or trans in some way, but I don't know if there's really any game that really has dug into it the same way this has. Is there a hole in her chest? Sorry, is there a hole in their chest? I'm looking. Is like, we can only rotate, but there's like a hole in their model. What is going on there? It looks like there's like a crack in their chest. Is that just me, or is that like a shine of something? Yeah, it looks like there's like a hole there. And it's like, I swear that's the ponytail, like waving in the background, but there's no like gap on the other side, it looks like. I don't know. Just something is up with Tosh's model there. But anyways, no. Developing Tosh's identity, like talking about just like what it feels like, you know, a overbearing mother that's like, I wanted you to be this thing, but you've been so difficult. What are you? And Tosh's like, I don't know. That's what I'm trying to figure out. And then like finds out it's just sort of like, I don't feel, you know, masculine. I don't feel feminine. I don't feel like a man or a woman. So what am I? And it's just like, oh, there's a word for that. It's like, what? There is? It's like, yeah. And it's a whole thing. Hold on, I'm just realizing. Okay, I'm just looking. It's like, okay. I thought like the armor box was like glitched out. It's just like you see those square blocks that makes it look like it's cutting off chunks of skin. Okay, anyways. But it's just like, oh yeah, non-binary is a thing. And I've seen people complain, like even I thought at first just sort of like, is there a different word they could use? Just because just like, it feels weird from the fantasy setting, but at the same time, who cares? It's the appropriate word to use because that sums it up. And, you know, it's just sort of like, yeah, non-binary. It's like, I'm just, you know, me. I don't feel like one gender or the other, so no need to choose. And that works for them. And so you spend a lot of time, hi dog, I see you. And so you spend a lot of time just like figuring out, like talking to Tosh and going like, well, I don't know what I want to feel like. And that goes not just my gender or who I am, but what I want to lean on as. Do I want to, you know, or do I want to follow the ways of the Qun and be more like a Qunari? Or do I want to separate myself from that and be more like the Rivani people that raised me and I grew up with? And so you're deciding like a different factors of their identity and just, you know, helping them figure out who they are and who they want to be and who they want to present as. Kind of like this outfit. It's, you know, Rani's legacy, because just like, yeah, I want to present myself as a Rivani. It's, you know, so many facets, and it's so interesting just sort of like, kind of like how they develop that. Again, as a, you know, straight cis guy. I don't like the word cis just because it makes me think of cis, and it's just like, ugh. All right, whatever. I don't care that much. But it was just sort of like, is there a different word? No, I jest a little bit. It was just sort of like, it just sounds gross, but it's just sort of like, cyst. Is that what people think of me as? No, but I jest because, you know, like, as a guy who's not non-binary, you know, if you put it that way, it's like, I don't get those feelings, but I see where they're coming from when they try to explain it. Are you done? Sorry, now the dog wants butt scratches, and I'm trying to do something, and I'm looking away from the mic, because you're giving me an awkward angle to work with. But, so it's like figuring out how, you know, they kind of go through like the whole rigmarole of like, here's how someone could feel about themselves like this, and here's kind of how they could figure out who they are in this way, you know? So you got like other characters just like, no one disrespects them once Tosh figures out, like, you know, refer to me by this, and everyone starts learning, and everyone just like, you know, kind of gets it in a way. Like, Isabella, where it's just sort of like, oh yeah, there's a word for this and you're not the only one. And even when she accidentally misgenders, you know, it kind of makes a point where it's just sort of like, you are not going to be lambasted and like brutalized for misgendering somebody once. If it's an honest mistake, it'll be taken that way and everybody can move on. You know, it's not that big of a deal so long as you're not doing it maliciously. And again, you can see it's just been the talking point of every like disingenuous, just sort of like, that's another tangent. But for what Tosh like represents, I think they did a good job. I have seen some like complaints from just like actual LGBTQ people. It's just sort of like, well, here's my problem with this from my perspective. And this just sort of like, okay, that's valid. I just like, at least in my, you okay? Sorry. And, you know, I'm sure there's plenty to actually complain about, but just because it exists does not mean it's a problem, you know? But, yeah, so I like the characters in this, and even some of the side characters, like Viago, Taya, especially. Are you done? Manfred. Just, like, a lot of the side characters are kind of interesting. Like, the push and pull of, Antoine and Evka, not push and pull, but I was worried about Antoine the entire time. It's like, one of these days he's going to snap and it's going to be a whole, like, mess. Apparently not. We managed to stop that from getting bad. Let's see. I'm trying to think about, like, other characters and even story stuff. There is some, like, writing things. It reminds me of, well, people are going to say, like, Marvel movie talk. No, it's not just Marvel that does this, even though the comparison I'm going to make is the Guardians of the Galaxy game, where just like it can be like a little overly quippy and such like that, or just sort of like, and there are so that happened, which I don't mind. Like, people give Forspoken a lot of crap, but you know, Forspoken had other problems than just its dialogue, but it was, you know, trying to think of where I'm going here with this, but there was genuinely a lot of like interesting character moments and conversations that you could have, so many different tiers of like what you're you know, how you approach conversations with them. And I know people complain of just sort of like, well, especially Baldur's Gate 3, you know, Baldur's Gate 3 is just such a more in-depth RPG and, you know, character creation system than this, but people are using that as like kind of a crutch, frankly, because even, you know, using Baldur's Gate 3 as a new standard for like games and fantasy RPGs is not something we need to do. Even the creators of the game don't want us doing that, because it does a disservice to that game, because that is just sort of like a technical marvel in a lot of ways, but it also, like, not every game has to be Baldur's Gate 3. But you know, it's like, but Baldur's Gate 3 had like a lot of options for how like you created your character and how you customize your character through their dialogue options. It seems like in this one playthrough as just a human fighter, you know, Rook is a set character, and kind of like Shepard was, really, because Shepard, you know, even if you leaned more into Renegade Shepard, like the thing always was that between Paragon and Renegade Shepard, I really don't like playing as Renegade, because yeah, you could be a jerk and, you know, like a by the books, get it done no matter the cost type of guy, but that's, I just found really boring, because if you're being, you know, if you're nice to people, they probably want to talk to you more, tell you more about their deep secrets, and like trust you with like learning more about them and their baggage. And so kind of playing like being a kind of like nicer guy in this case, you get to learn so much more about people and what they want and what they're after and what they think about the world. Sorry. And what they think about things. And, kind of with Renegade, it's just sort of like, it's like, well, here's the whole thing. It's like, I don't need to know all that. And it's like, you kind of just like throw away dialogue and such. Meanwhile, it's kind of like this here. Rook is a set character. And, they are mostly agreeable, can be approachable. And, the worst you can do is just like tell people off or like every once in a while give a commanding tone. But that's how I would play this anyways. So I'm not really bothered by it. I don't really... I'm not really into the complaints where it's just like, you can't even be an evil character in this. And it's like, so? What are you going to gain by being an evil character? Unless there was an option to like join elgar'nan and Gillenane, which I think would just kind of be boring. Like, that's the only thing you could get. It's just like with that. It's like, oh yeah, being an evil character and then just ignoring the world, ignoring the characters that are in this story and not helping anybody grow. And so you get to the final mission and it's just sort of like, you have to have a thorough disinterest in the world and the characters to not want to help them out and to figure out, help them figure out what they need and how they want to progress their stories. Dog, can you please sit closer to me so I can reach you and don't have to lean away from the microphone? So, it's kind of like, and I went above and beyond. I damn near think I did every single quest. I don't think I missed a thing. And that took me just shy of 70 hours, like 68. And that's like doing everything. So, it was a thorough playthrough, only missing a handful of chests, which I don't think is a big deal. That's mainly it. Every quest, every character line, everyone is promoted. Almost everybody's maxed out. I did as much of the game as I could through the course of the adventure. And it took me a bit longer than I thought. I thought we were close to the end after like 30 hours. But we did a lot. There was a lot to this adventure and a lot to these characters. And again, it's kind of like a mix of like Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3 and kind of like the feeling I got from those games. Because Mass Effect 2, it's like you want to get to know those characters on the New Normandy. Like Cerberus sends you to find people and you get to know them and they have like kind of more quirky personality. Well, not quirky, but more of just sort of like more varied, I guess you could say. Because you got like people you could gun down immediately or characters you don't want to work with or something like that. But when you go, it's like, we got a job to do. And so we have to get along one way or another. So at least in that sense, it was just like, it made me want to get to know them better so we could be a better team. And in Mass Effect 3's case, it's kind of just sort of like doing as much as you can in not only that game, but the rest of the series, where it's just sort of like, we're building up to the final confrontation. If we do as much as we can, we will have every resource possible in order to try and win this fight. And this, it kind of feels more satisfying than Mass Effect 3 in that regard, because because in Mass Effect 3, you kind of did all that, and all you really did was minimize casualties until like the final like Reaper blast and leading us into the final decisions of the game. But meanwhile here, it did feel like that culmination meant something, where it's like, helping your allies become the best they could be, figuring out their abilities, and, by helping them, you help their organizations, and by helping those organizations, you help, like, cut off small things that could have been bigger problems in the final stretch. What's up? So yeah, I don't know what this looks like in the, worst case scenario. Like, what does the ending of this look like if you do the equivalent of the Mass Effect 2 suicide mission where everyone dies? Like, that's got to be a complete disaster. And the thing is, that just isn't, that would not be here. That here would not just be everyone in your party dies. It means like every faction you ever worked with dies. Like this entire continent might completely go to hell. The Grey Wardens will get overrun. The Antivian Crows will get ran out or executed in the city. The Lords of Fortune may lose everything. Everybody will lose something in the end. Like Arlathan Forest will be completely destroyed. I don't know, like, you know, I don't know how much detail it gets into, because, you know, it's really pushing you to do as much as you can. Like, it's not subtle in saying, it's just sort of like, what we need to do for everybody is to do all the content. We gotta do everyone's side quests, we gotta do everyone's character study, or character arcs, and then we will be a team that can stop the gods. You know, like, it's not subtle about that, but it's kind of like, it also kind of like plays up into a thing I wanted to do anyways, where I did want to do all that. I wanted to help everyone figure out, right, that's because my main hand doesn't have a damage, it's all elemental. But anyways, but I wanted to do everything to help who I could, because I genuinely wanted to see them make it through this. And so, you know, there's a lot of cool stuff that goes on here, but you know, there are some things where I can think people will not stick around for a while, or could drop off quickly, because the gameplay doesn't really pick up until 20 hours in. And I know how that sounds, and I know that's kind of been the consensus I've been seeing online. It's like, it really picks up 20 hours in, and it's just sort of like, that's not great. Like, that isn't a great pitch. Because early on, it's a little clumsy. Like, it's kind of hack and slashy, which, like, all right, this is kind of cool, but you don't have much to work off yet. And then it's the slow build to getting the skill points you need to, like, get new abilities. You get new you get new skills and abilities that do some cool stuff, but they take a while to recharge, or, like, rage builds up pretty slowly. And you just get, like, incremental bonuses to, like, the various effects you do. But once you reach a certain point, again, it's like level 20, well, that's kind of when you got enough points to reach a specialization. And once you reach a specialization, you not only have enough skill points to, like, really open up one of your, like, one of the big ability sets of a weapon type, if not all of them, you also just have enough skill points that you can recalibrate in any way you want into this web. That really gives you better bonuses and, like, more modifications that, hold on, your rage is no longer decays below 50%. Cool. Sorry, but there's, like, loads of things that once they stack, and once you figure out the line to make them stack, it gets crazy. Like, and also just having the ability to respec your points whenever you want is great, because you're not stuck in a path. If I got stuck in the like, two-handed path with the decisions I made, I probably would have had a worse time, because I had some cool abilities, but I needed to mix it up a little bit. Once I started using my sword and shield more, it's like, oh yeah, this is actually a very cool, like, way to do things and to fight, and using my shield throw even more. It's just like, oh, this is a great, like, it takes a while to charge, but once you start using it more or apply different effects, it can do a lot of damage, and it takes care of barriers and can help you, like, with a lot of puzzle solving in combat. And just being able to experiment by changing how I want to spec the tree and everything really opens things up. But it takes a while to really let that, like, open up. What I really messed up on is, like, I needed survivability pretty early on. But once it opened up, you know, we had some really cool options, and it really makes you power up. And then also, like, stuff I also mishandled early on, like not really changing my gear much, not really understanding how, like, buying equipment worked and how it actually, like, piggybacked off of gear you find, making it stronger and stronger, to the point where, you know, it's like, it makes better gear and, like, all their modifiers a little bit stronger. But once you find the relic gear and, like, learn, like, the kind of like Fallout traits, learning, like, all right, it does this, but it debuffs me in this way. But if I can make that work and synergize, until I finally, like, decided to, like, really experiment and realize just sort of like, oh yeah, like, crazy rage bonuses, because I can just max out my rage and then do a lot of damage, while also, like, increasing how much rage I can do, increasing my damage, and how much my ultimate charges, and how much damage that does. Like, having nearly, yeah, all my relic weapons and special stuff, and especially when I found this, I don't know if mathematically relic items are the best you can get. Can you not? Sorry, I'm still dealing with the dog. And I don't know if the relic items are mathematically, like, better than, like, legendary weapons, but even in the end, I thought this stuff was cool. So I'm sure there's a way to min-max, but also I like the rainbow sword, and I like that as a reward because, you know, again, doing other stuff, doing as much as you can, not even just with your companions, but for the world itself, like clearing the blight out of the crossroads by taking out the revenants and then fighting the blight dragon, which probably the hardest fight in the game that I somehow squeaked by very early on, like right when I got to level 40, because like I just had a good setup and was able to like read the thing's movements, while meanwhile every other dragon fight after that was way harder. Even though that was like supposed to be the real end game battle. And this was me playing on, you know, like effectively normal. Like this was standard difficulty. This was everything at least a medium of difficulty, and it could still push you, but once you realize like how to make the best of your abilities, it really hold on. What? Come here. Choose a preset that fits your playstyle. A balanced experience. Yeah. And we did that pretty well. Prevent death? Oh, you can do that? Oh, cool. Sorry, that's interesting. Also, as like, even if you just want to enjoy the story, it's like, oh, that's actually kind of a nice for accessibility thing. But anyways, so like, you know, playing on a standard, like middle of the road difficulty, and, you know, and just the things I messed up on in the end. What? Okay, just a second. Dog wants out again. Okay, back. Sorry again. Okay. What was I saying? It was something gameplay related. God damn it, I don't remember. Shoot, I was on a roll and I got distracted. I don't remember what I was talking about. Oh, but there were mistakes I made along the way about like how I handled gear and everything. Again, I didn't really get it at first about just like, oh, actually like buying items that you already have doubles them up and actually increases your stuff passively. So I ignored shops for a good while, didn't really get it. The enchantments I ignored for way too long early on, and I completely forgot I could also enchant my companions' items. So that could have also been a game changer. That would have done a lot for a lot of, that could have done a lot, like bonus damages, changes how abilities would have worked, increased damage, increased radius. That would have been great. Detonation removes burning and deals fire damage in an area. That, you know, you stack a bunch of burning stacks like I was doing with my build like halfway through the game, or like, you know, in like the third quarter. Or, you know, the second quarter, you get what I mean, in the third quarter, where it's like, yeah, all my burning stacks I was applying because of my elemental weapon, converting everything into fire and burning. If I had paid that off, that would have been awesome. And that's me, like, maybe the game could have tutorialized that a little bit better, but yeah, there was a lot of customization I missed out on that could have made some tough things earlier on a lot easier, and could have optimized things a bit better, but never claimed to be good at Dragon Age. I didn't know how any of the stats worked in Dragon Age Origins, and I thought I'd be better now. Apparently not. But, and that also does have like another like detrimental effect on your companions with fighting alongside them, where, you know, they don't really feel that important to a fight. They're mainly a big hitter, or to like, yeah, a follow-up. I saw, I'm trying to remember the account name, Gene Park, I think, Gene Parker, where he had like a theory where it's like, actually, it really feels like Veilguard was meant to be like a multiplayer game or a like hero brawler of some kind, because of like applying and detonation effects, how characters are working, how they don't really like integrate into the combat well, because they're kind of just like doing their own thing. And they kind of feel like they can't fight without you. Like, yeah, it kind of feels like, you know, they are just like ability things that just happen to be attacking and doing other stuff. And when it synergizes well, but that's only if you're really like doing a lot of stuff on your own and if you have like all their gear really figured out. So they don't feel like super necessary. But in the end, like the characters themselves are actually really cool. Gameplay has its moments. You know, again, 20 hours in, once I had a lot of skill points and was able to reapply them and change up how I fought and figure out like what bonuses actually were, it really opened up. And then like it got exciting to get like, but then that's at the point when the level ups kind of got very slow. But it really opened up and like how everything worked and how fast I could make things recharge with the damage output. And at the end, again, if I had spent the time actually figuring out how to do my gear in a certain way to really maximize its effectiveness of all my abilities, my damage output, how to convert everything, and again, using enchantments on my companions, that could have changed a lot. But in the end, we still made it through. So even if you're a bumbling idiot, you can still at least make it through moderate difficulty. But yeah, in the end, I still really enjoyed Dragon Age Veilguard. And where the story takes you, kind of like with Varric, I kind of say, like, the ending kind of did change how I felt about certain things. Like, I kind of wish Varric did more, but then again, he also wasn't there. But then again, he could have done more to make that impact really more effective. Like, if you're a Dragon Age 2 and Inquisition fan, and you liked Varric in those games, I'm sure this hits even harder. And it still hits hard, even if you're just coming into him, like, with this game. But, like, if you had more conversations with him to really play up that he, you know, maybe not play up that he really wasn't actually there, or to like get to know him better on a personal level alone with Rook, maybe that could have gone even farther. But again, there were some cool connections between Varric, Solas, and like how Rook and Solas are, yeah, kind of very similar. Like Solas, I remember, you know, apparently the codename for this game was Dreadwolf, because it was going to be all about Solas, and it kind of was, but then the title got changed to Veilguard, because, you know, it wasn't about Solas, it was about the people who had to stop him, something to that effect. And what we got with that, where we got Solas, and like Varric said, it's easy for him to play the bad guy. That way he can frame all of his decisions as a choice. The choice that he made, the, you know, lesser of two evils for the greater good, ends justify the means. If you're a you know, in a way, Solas is kind of like the evil version of Rook, or you could look at it differently, where Rook is the good version of Solas, no matter how you play them. Because, yeah, it's you know, a big thing about Rook and like kind of like being kind of a preset character with very little like way to change that, but it gives him the ability to like build up this guilt. You know, Rook is kind of like a good like personification of a player who wants to be, you know, who wants to come into a BioWare game and wants to be friendly, wants to learn about the world, wants to meet the characters, is excited to meet the characters, and it makes you feel bad when something happens to them. If they die, you know, because if they die or if they fall or if something happens, because you can look at that as just sort of like, it's my decision that led to this as the player, and Rook kind of adopts that, you know, kind of adopts that for you and personifies that into their character, if I'm making sense. And again, even looking back in hindsight, things like this Mass Effect 2 suicide mission, still one of the greatest missions of all time. It is actually pretty linear when you go back and really think about it, because the best thing you need to do is like pretty obvious decisions if you know your characters, which it's not that hard to know them, frankly. But as long as you just finish their quest lines, then they're good. So, like, yeah, I feel like I could have put almost anybody in certain situations there, but... Sorry, I thought I heard something. Okay, I feel like I could have put, like, almost anyone in any situation in that final stretch of the game, and it would have worked so long as they were a Veilguard hero, you know? Because that's what mattered. By getting to know them and getting them to open up, they will be their best no matter what you do. And Mass Effect 2 was kind of like the same way, where it's like, really, you could choose the right person for the job. If you didn't finish their companion quest line, they would still fail. So it was all about, yeah, doing as much as you could to get them to be the best of their abilities, or, you know, to open up the best of their capabilities. And so kind of like that, where Rook kind of personifies like a way the player and how they feel about these characters if they wanted to get to know them, where it's just sort of like, I feel bad about, like, you know, even though you got the player choice, you know, the illusion of player choice, you could say, where it's just like, if you chose Balara or Nev, it probably either one of them would have been kidnapped and probably would have maybe died in the end if they weren't a Veilguard hero. Where again, the emphasis is on doing as much as you can in the world. And if you're invested, that should be enough to get you as a player to keep going. And there were slow bits. There were some side quests where it's just like, okay, that wasn't that interesting. Or it's like, that's kind of, you know, wasn't really worth all that time. And that was mainly a lot of the other side quests, you know, that feel like they culminate, but some of them kind of just sort of like, what was the point of that? Oh, okay, I guess that makes sense. Or just gave you excuses to fight like bigger and bigger, like more challenging enemies. Like, it all gradually escalated. They could have done maybe, again, better about telegraphing when there be a point of no return, just so you weren't locked out of certain things, like with Nev. But there was still a lot you could do, and by getting to know the characters and, like, figuring out who they were and opening up with them, it changed them. And again, there's even kind of like subtle things in how that works. Like, you go to their rooms and they evolve, being more decorated and more interesting, and more fitting with who they are as a character. You got their, like, your affiliations with them. Whereas, like, you know, Tosh, they started out by just being, the relationship was here. And now they are Rivani and proud. They've accepted who they are. You know, Belara, Elven historian, learning about, like, even the harsh truths about, like, you know, her people's, like, history, and is trying to, like, a new history and trying to share that with other people. Davern, comrade in arms, my, you know, brother in gray, you know, a warrior who thought and acted a lot like I did and was ready to give it all up no matter, you know, whatever it takes, because he was a warrior to the end and he was going to live and die as a warrior. And again, as a Grey Warden Rook, I felt that connection. Emmerich, Spirit Caller. It wasn't just that, you know, okay, I'm going back over the characters, but Spirit Caller, you know, reaching out to the spirits and, like, you know, kind of understanding, like, what death means and what, okay, I'm losing myself. Personal touchstone, that's adorable. And again, fits with the rock theme. Lucanus, first talent, he's been upgraded to, like, the highest point of power in his family and, you know, and honor in his society. And, you know, Nev, feared by Venatori. Again, she's Batman. Now that I phrase it like that, that explains a lot. But yeah, she's just sort of like, she will always and forever be a nightmare for the Venatori. I'm just looking. But yeah, how your relationship with these characters develops and changes, and you can see that in how their room changes and gets more expressive and different. And it's like another just like little thing that makes these characters come alive, even in like where they like to hang out at. Hey, girl.
Look at all those green leaves.
Are you done? Come on, dog. Sorry, dog keeps wanting pets. You know, it's like how lavish, you know, where they live and how they set up their rooms adds to their personality. And that's a really nice touch. Because, yeah, it's about getting to know these characters and letting those relationships blossom one way or another. And it's by having that care for these characters, which makes when something happens to them affect you or affect Rook. And it's like him worrying about him, you know, kind of like not intending to be this leader, this resistance icon, but needing to take the role because who else will? And the world is dead if we don't step up. So you got, you know, so you got that with Varric where, you know, it seemed weird that he lived. He really didn't seem like he should have, but he did. And Solus used that to manipulate us in the end. And that's actually kind of cool and interesting. But, you know, but Varric kind of personifies that as just like, you're worried that you're going to let these people down, but you're going to let them down, but they trust you, you trust them, and you guys got to work together to end this. And Solus is kind of like amenable, where, again, there's a lot of Rook and Solus that are kind of like very similar, where they're both willing to risk themselves to save the world, but what that means to them is different. And what they think they need to do and the regret they feel for their mistakes. For Solus letting down his, you know, friends and losing this, you know, losing his followers back then, to us now losing our close friends and thinking we're failing them when something happens. So, sorry, there's a lot going on with the Dreadwolf, and in the end, what we did with Solus was that we gave him the choice. We presented him with the people and the beings that maybe could have stopped him, because what he feared was if anyone he cared about came with him to, you know, do this deed, they probably could have stopped him, because they would have talked him down, they would have, knocked down his pride, and, they would have gotten to the regrets that lay deep inside and shined a light on them and maybe could have changed his mind. And Solus knew how similar we were to him. That's why he tried to use regret to trap us. But it was the resolve that we had to give, that got us out of that, and the support of the those that we helped along the way and helped us along the way too. If I'm making sense, I'm rambling and my throat's really starting to hurt. But, that's Dragon Age the Veilguard. I really enjoyed this. I don't know if this is going to be my game of the year, but at least it's earned a spot in the top 5, because there's still a lot to like here. And again, going back and seeing some things about the original Dragon Age, yeah, there is something to be said about just sort of like how kind of like more like tense the relationships could be, where it's like there could be a character that could just straight up betray you if you don't like build a bond with them. But that's kind of the thing that, it's different. There was a tension to, don't knock things over. Come on, dog, behave. There was a tension to like building your relationships, and disagreements could actually like send people away in those games. But there's also just sort of like a thing you look back on, just like, oh yeah, Dragon Age was dark, gritty, and that had its pros and cons. Like, I kind of like that still, but it's also just sort of like, boy, they were trying so hard with this to make this seem like such a uber serious thing. Where it's like, maybe here you could argue there is too much levity, but overall, I enjoyed nearly everything in some capacity that this had to offer. And this isn't, well, maybe this is BioWare kind of like getting their groove back, which, I go, isn't saying much after Anthem, but that's something they didn't really want to make. So, this does kind of give me more hope for, honestly, this weirdly gives me more hope for Mass Effect 4 than replaying the trilogy did. Like, I really liked the Mass Effect trilogy when I replayed it with the Legendary Edition and really had a new perspective on it. I was so cynical about a Mass Effect 4. Like, I'd rather they just not. But with this, I might have more hope for it. And not only for Mass Effect, but for, the next Dragon Age and whatever the next thread of that is going to be. And it is something I'm going to have to go back to, original Dragon Age. And that's on my list to start playing those probably next year, but we will see. But with that, I suppose that's the end. Dragon Age the Veilguard, I really enjoyed it, and, I really enjoyed it. That's just it. Like, I feel like I have to justify myself after, like, all the vitriol and the, like, toxic conversations around it. But no, this is genuinely really good. This does so much right. And given the chance to just like tell something new and to really dig into the characters and kind of like highlights why I've enjoyed BioWare games in the past. And, it gives me hope that despite Electronic Arts, right down there, still being associated with BioWare, but how much BioWare has changed as a company too. And for a long time, it's been for the worse, but maybe this is a step for it to be changed for the better. Going forward, whatever it takes, no regrets to hold us back. So, with that being said, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed. Like and subscribe and all that. This is Timmara, signing off. And thank you for watching me play Dragon Age the Veilguard.